Wanna talk? So let's talk. Here. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Good evening, and welcome. It's Talk to Solomon time. That's me, Stan Solomon, my co-host,
Chief Steve.
former police chief Steve Davis, and also joining us from the great state of Alabama, Greg W. Howard. Greg, how are you this evening?
Doing well. Maybe they can turn up the volume. I can barely hear you.
All right, we'll try and do that. Get them to turn up the volume. All right, also joining us from the District of Criminals is the one and only but never lonely Larry Pratt. Hey, Larry. Where's Larry? Well, I don't hear him. Are you there, Larry? Is he not talking for a reason?
It's called a technical difficulty.
All right. Larry will join us here momentarily. The feds are in the news as usual because they are assembling an incredible amount of ammunition on the non-defense side of the federal government. And we've got many people thinking that perhaps Obama's private army is going to use these rounds, and who knows what arms they may or may not have. Larry, are you with us now? Okay, well, it's very frustrating. Does he know we're on the air? Okay. All right, inauspicious start, folks. I apologize. It's not the way I like to start because this is a serious time in our country. There are many, many, many issues. I don't think Larry can hear us, even though we're hearing him. Is our audio being fed to him? Okay, well, it doesn't make sense. Greg, can you hear us all right?
Yes, I hear you fine. It's just a very low volume.
Okay, well, maybe you can turn up some on your side.
Not a thing more I can do.
Okay, all right. Well, let me just start with this discussion with you then, Greg. The accumulation of billions of rounds, even though there's about 1 billion rounds a week sold in this country, so by comparison, 2 billion rounds is basically 2 weeks' worth of manufacturing capacity. What does it elicit from you in the way of concern?
Well, it elicits concern for me in that who is buying it. This is not going to the Department of Defense. This is going to agencies like Homeland Security, which I understand has some agencies that do have a need to be armed, but why would Social Security Administration need to be armed? Are they expecting the Gray Panthers to come in on a walker warfare, in their walkers and hover rounds and take over a Social Security office? Exactly why does Social Security Administration need to be armed? EPA, I understand, has some minor enforcement responsibilities, but again, what are they going to be doing? Who are they going to be planning to be shooting? There are agencies on this list that have absolutely no reason to be armed.
From the Olive, yes.
Well, I hear what you're saying. In my opinion, and I don't assign any good motives to anything Obama or his administration does, because I believe the man is dishonest, disingenuous, and not necessarily human. But the fact is, if we are, quote unquote, attacked, if we have terrorist groups try and cause chaos, then it'll be all hands on deck. So certainly something can be said for having as many people in the public sector in a position to respond. Also, there's practice in qualifying and that type of thing. But again, these numbers are dramatically more than any of that would entail. The question really is, why isn't the federal government giving us anything other than our people have to qualify at the range, which is the only response they're really giving us?
Well, that's a garbage answer, and I'll tell you why. They're buying hollow point ammunition. That's more expensive than standard ammunition. You use ball ammunition, standard rounded point ball ammunition for qualifying at the range. You do not use hollow point ammunition to qualify at the range. Hollow point ammunition, we've been over this on this show before, has a specific purpose. It's designed to stop inside the initial target, whether that's a person or, if you miss, to not go through sheetrock and into another room. So buying hollow point ammunition for qualification purposes is an absolute lie. You do not buy hollow point for that purpose.
And that is well said. Chief, your thoughts?
Well, Greg's exactly right, although I don't give any credence to the federal government knowing the difference between any kind of ammunition. So perhaps who's buying this is just so stupid they don't know what to buy. But I do know this, they're not buying it to defend our borders. They're buying it for some other reason, and I don't like what might be the reason.
All right, do we have Larry back yet? Okay, there is a problem then. All right. The Obama Justice Department, one of their spokespeople, in January of this year, just a month or so ago, in a memo titled Summary of Select Firearm Violence Prevention Strategies, I don't know what the acronym is, but I think it's BS, said that mandatory confiscation of firearms is necessary, is essential for any gun control legislation or gun control rules to have any impact. I'll start with you, Chief.
It's against the law. The Second Amendment gives us the right to own firearms, and it says that there's just no exception to that at all. So there's no negotiation. There's nothing else to do, and so for them. But this is the goal. This is the goal. They've said it out loud now. What they want to do is confiscate all of our guns. All the talk about gun violence, gun safety, gun this, gun ammunition, gun magazine capacity, it's a bunch of bull. They want to take away all of our guns. They've missed the point that the law says shall not be infringed.
They didn't miss it. They consider the Constitution
no, you're right.
to be irrelevant.
That's a mistake on my part. They know what they're doing. They didn't miss it. They know what they're doing, and their goal is to take away our guns regardless of the Constitution.
Now, there are people, and some of them close to home here, that feel, and Larry Pratt, who as soon as we get him on here, will confirm that the feeling is that when government goes to the point that they want to confiscate people's firearms, there's going to be a reaction, a violent reaction, a substantial reaction, and a contra reaction by many people. That may go back to our first question. Maybe that's what they're thinking when they go to confiscate, that they're going to have to call in not 100, not 100,000, but several million members of the non-military in order to enforce confiscation. Your thoughts, Greg?
First of all, there's absolutely no reason for the police to have a right to search your house simply because you have a gun. That's part one. That is a violation of the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. There is no probable cause to believe a crime is being committed. Therefore, this constitutes a warrantless search. You cannot pass a law that abrogates the Constitution. Any judge who would uphold this, I think it will find itself to the Supreme Court rather shortly. Second of all, if they start confiscating guns, I think they'll find the reaction to be way, way different than they expected. Remember, it was confiscation of guns that caused the confrontation in Lexington and Concord.
All right, I think we have Larry with us now. Larry, you with us?
I sure am.
All right, Larry, the billions of rounds that the federal government is accumulating for agencies, not the military, the announcing by the Justice Department that confiscation of guns is a necessary part of gun control. Greg just alluded to the fact that one state, they're suggesting that police should have the right to search homes to look for guns if they think or know they're there. I believe that what we're seeing is preparation by the federal government for banning guns, demanding the turning in of guns, and the armaments they're collecting and the rounds are so that they can put together an army outside of the military to help to enforce confiscation of guns. Your thoughts?
Well, the Obama stated objective in the 2008 campaign was to have a civilian force equal in strength to the military. And so this buying of guns wholesale and buying of ammunition in astronomical amounts indicates that the Obama administration is proceeding apace with that goal in mind. Now, if they really want to provoke a confrontation, a violent confrontation, I can't think of a better way than to try to go door to door and confiscate guns. They'll get a few at the beginning, but it won't go well if they continue. And I think the only conclusion one can draw is that may be what they are looking for. They want to provoke something, and, you know, what's a few police to make it look like those hot-headed militia guys are at it again.
Well, do you think, and we'll get everyone's response, do you think that the Obama administration, starting with Obama and all the other people in that administration, believe that the American people will accept the use of strength, be it the military or non-military, to forcibly disarm and in the process hurt, kill, imprison not one, not 100, but thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Americans? Do you really think they think that will be able to move forward?
Well, they may well believe their own ideology quite in a thoroughgoing fashion. And if so, then I think they might assume that, well, if the president has said something, that makes it law, and therefore that would give them, they think, the psychological edge, because resisting their orders would be breaking the law. They don't understand that there's still a lot of people in this country that look at the government and the people that are employed in it as under the law and especially under the Constitution. And for them to think they can just go ripping along would be, I think, the same mistake that King George's boys made in the run-up to the War for Independence. There will be a place and a time where somebody's going to say, "You're not taking my guns."
Well, I think there will be that will happen quickly, and they will wipe those people out to set an example. I also believe that they will use this is my opinion, not based on fact that I can offer to you at this moment, but I believe they will put together a racial force to go against a opposite race resistance, basically a black force to go against a white resistance, and then they'll claim anyone resisting the black force, they're doing it because they're racist, not because they believe it's unconstitutional to have guns. I'll let Greg jump in on this.
Well, a couple of good points there, Stan, and I think that you may be right, because he has been sowing the seeds of racial hatred. We were healing quite well as a nation on racial issues until Obama came along, and now we have a lot of racial discord. One of the things I think, and Larry hit on this, is that Obama and his folks live in an ivory tower. First of all, Obama is not American. Even if by chance he might have actually been born in America, which I do not believe. I don't know what's going on there, but can we clear that dial tone?
Yeah, we got it. Okay. I think that's Larry.
Okay. Even if Obama may have been born in America, of which I'm not totally convinced, he is not American. He was not raised in American culture. He does not understand Americans, and neither do his ivory tower academics around him. They do not understand the rank-and-file American citizen, the gun owner, the mom, the dad, the folks who live out here. They do not have a clue that we will simply not just roll over and play dead before the government forces if they choose to act in that way. And that is going to be their greatest surprise and their greatest downfall. If they think that wiping out a few hundred people who own guns, like that maybe pull a large-scale Waco or Ruby Ridge-type incident, even if they tinge it with racial overtones, that is going to backfire against them horribly because we have a new media, the Internet. Now, he's going to probably try and take that down, but the folks are already aware, and people are setting up phone trees all over the place. People are not going to be isolated. Second of all, people are aware of exactly what he is and what he's doing. And third of all, we are not going to back down on this particular issue. Guns are part of America, and every American knows that taking our guns away, if Obama can take your guns away, he can take your car, he can take your home, he can take your bank account, he can take your very life.
Larry, your response.
I do agree that the Obama administration would definitely be capable of something as evil as you were suggesting. But I also think that, and I agree, that it's not going to have the desired effect. In fact, what probably the Obama people are not thinking about is that a lot of people resolved no more free Wacos, meaning you surround some poor guy or group or whatever, and you start playing the massacre game the way you did at Waco, well, you're going to get surrounded. You won't be able to go home safely. Your family won't be safe. That's the sentiment that's out there. And for them to think that somehow they're immune is going to surprise them if they try to pull something ugly.
Chief?
There have been some good comments tonight. I just want to remind everybody that historically, nations do take away people's guns. You know, Hitler did it. It just happened in Australia. And so governments, when they get big enough, they realize that they have to disarm the citizens or they really can't control them. So it's a possibility that it's going to happen here. Something Greg said earlier about the police and the Constitution reminded me that today most police officers are not really trained in how to enforce the Constitution. They're taught about what the Constitution says and some of the laws, but they're really taught to enforce the laws that are currently on the books, the federal laws, the state statutes, and the local ordinances. But their interpretation, they're not trained. Police officers are not trained to use their own interpretation, their own decision-making to interpret whether something's constitutional or not. They rely on judges and on prosecutors to tell them that. So if any judge or any prosecutor tells the police department that this particular law or rule is constitutional, the police are going to go for it until someone convinces them that it's not. So I think this is a good time. I really hope that people can listen to this and say, you know, I'm going to talk to the policemen that I know and discuss this with them so they can start discussing with their fellow officers, and also for the sheriffs of this country to start really talking about the constitutional issues, especially regarding the Second Amendment. Because if this does come to a head, we need to make sure that the police are on our side, which is the side of the Constitution, and not on some illegal prosecutor side or some illegal judge's side.
Well said. And of course, we've had a group called Vampire Killers 2000 that started with Sheriff Mack and some of those guys. And there are a lot of police officers that are up to speed, especially sheriffs, as Larry Pratt, I'm sure, can tell us, but not nearly enough. And when we have let me get the story here quickly, the chief of police in Chicago, and let me tell you exactly what he said. He said that the Second Amendment is a danger to public safety. He said that government-sponsored racism and Sarah Palin type people are responsible for Chicago's gun violence.
Before you go farther, I want to make one comment about that. The chief of police of Chicago was not put in office by the people. Put in office by the mayor. He does not answer to the people, he answers to the mayor.
But he has 5,000 officers under him.
But I'm just explaining to you where the philosophy is coming from and where the people have to go to get an answer for
There's no question. So we have to take out Rahm Emanuel from his position of power. I agree. But Larry, your thoughts?
Yeah, for that police chief to say something like that is to embarrass himself in front of the nation. That is a truly stunningly ignorant statement. And all it's going to do is, at least in Chicago, lower the respect that the people might have for the police. And that's not a good idea. You want to have a working relationship with the people, not to be their adversary. He's setting himself up to be their adversary. He's saying, I'm stupid, and you can't trust me. that's really a terrible idea.
Well, I agree. Now, we have in California a collection of morons that is probably one of the largest collections of morons on the face of the earth. But the governor of California, Jerry Brown, just paroled 377 convicted murderers. At the same time, they're telling people you shouldn't have a gun. Now, I think 1 and 1 says the more people that like to kill people there are around, the more likely it is you'll need to be able to defend yourself. Greg?
And that was really a stunning thing to do, to set all those people loose. At the same time, you're saying guns are bad. Well, of course, if guns are bad, did he get rid of the guns in his security detail? I don't think so. In fact, if anything, after what he's done, they need to beef it up.
Greg, are you still with us?
I am.
Go ahead.
The idea of paroling over 300 convicted murderers and turning them loose on the streets of a state that already has as many issues with law enforcement as it does, especially in the wake of the Chris Dorner story, etc. I think it's just absolutely insane. But then again, there's a reason why California is known as the land of the fruits and nuts. I mean, it's hard to tell the difference between the two. They're absolutely insane out there. You know, they're standing on top of the solution to their problems. You know, in terms of money under their feet in oil, they're killing themselves environmentally by cutting off water to the Central Valley. Now they're turning murderers loose out there. You know, these are folks that if we rolled the clock back 50 years or 60 years would have been executed, and properly so in most cases. So, you know, this is absolutely insane, but then again, they call him Government Moonbeam for a reason.
Now, we had a tragic death. Mindy McCready, a lady, a country singer, pretty lady, young lady, early 30s, 2 children that were being taken away from her because of her drug and alcohol problems, who just killed herself. Now, they let her out of rehab, and the next day she killed herself. We can talk about, you know, the competence there, but here's the point I want to get everyone's comment on. Now the libs and the media is saying it's not her fault, it's not rehab's fault, it's the fact that she could get a gun with which to kill herself. So in order to save people who would otherwise commit suicide, we need to get rid of guns. That's the logic, because most people who try suicide with a gun succeed, where they're not as successful with pills or turning on the stove or, you know, jumping in front of a train or whatever else they come up with. Now, I know from some personal relationships that people that are intent on killing themselves will find a way to do so. And a gun is a more efficient way of doing it perhaps than some others, but the fact that they can't find a gun doesn't mean they won't kill themselves. Conversely, if someone wants to commit suicide, but in the process kill their spouse, kill their kids, kill their neighbors, kill those who they happen to run into on the way to killing themselves, like happened in California just yesterday, you know, Larry, your thoughts?
It's well, it's just more evidence that these folks don't think the way most normal Americans think. The idea that we're going to somehow stop suicide by taking guns away is, well, look at Japan. Hardly anybody has a gun in Japan. Even among the authorities, it's very difficult to get a gun unless there's some huge emergency. And yet people have a higher suicide rate in Japan than we do suicide rate using firearms. So you've got to admit that the Japanese are pretty clever, and they've outsmarted the politicians. It hasn't made a whit of difference. And actually what they call suicide is actually very often Papa is distressed, something's happened to disgrace the family, so he commits murder of the family, and then he commits suicide, and they tend to count all those victims as a suicide.
Wow. Well, that's one little factoid I wasn't familiar with. Greg?
Well, Sweden has an extraordinarily high suicide rate, and guns are extremely hard to get there. People will commit suicide. You know, there's a reason why they take away their belts and shoes when people are shoelaces when people are on suicide watch. You know, or take away bed sheets from prisoners on suicide watch. There are so many methods of committing suicide. If a person wants to think about it for 15 seconds, they can do it. The fact that a gun makes it more efficient is only a straw man argument, and we know that that is one of the liberal hallmarks of debate, is to create a straw man and then knock it down. So, you know, the fact that guns are an efficient method of suicide is just another one of their ways of going after guns. Listen, there's going to be a shooting every day that's going to get more press than it would have 5 years ago. There's going to be an argument every day that guns this, guns that. You know, if Chris Dorner hadn't been able to get a gun, he wouldn't have done this. You know, it's just going to be endless until they think that they've reached a critical mass in the media and public opinion to make their next move. And I've been telling people about this for 2 or 3 months now on Twitter. Just plan on it. The media is not going to quit, and there's going to be a new story every day. They've got the next big massacre. They will have the graphics with the graphs and the charts ready to roll out with 15 seconds after the next shooting. Okay?
No question. Chief?
This is just another bait and switch tactic by the left. They get us talking about suicide when in reality their goal is to take our guns away. So they're distracting us with the suicide story. But they will never, the left will never let the truth, facts, or anything else get in the way of their agenda.
All right. There is a push now, and Larry, I'll hand this to you because we only have a few minutes left, to say to the federal government, as a famous Saudi monarch once said, Farouk you. That they're saying guns manufactured in a state, sold to people in the state, held by people who live in that state, the Fed has no authority over those guns.
Well, actually, that's a good point based on the Commerce Clause, but it's also true that the federal government has no jurisdiction over firearms, period. It's not an enumerated power. In fact, it is so not an enumerated power that it's actually specifically excluded from federal involvement. You know, that thingy called the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. So all of these gun laws that are already on the books, let alone those that they're trying to add, they're all wrong. They're all unconstitutional. Not only do they not work, they are illegal.
Well, having said that, you know, the BATF, that outlaw organization, but for that matter, every state, every prosecutor in this country are still going to, and every federal court is going to prosecute people on gun cases, and no one is, we haven't had the Supreme Court say you can't charge them with a federal gun offense because the federal government has no right making federal laws on guns.
That's the bottom line. Of course, the federal government has no authority making lots of the laws that it does make, and it's time that we, the people, reassert our sovereignty over our employee. The government is not sovereign. They've arrogated that to themselves, and they've claimed sovereign immunity, but that's just not true. That's a fabrication that was designed to bedazzle the people, and it's worked for a while, but I think it's time that we point out that you know, there's somebody behind that curtain, and it's just a little guy that's puffing out all that noise and smoke.
All right, well, we're out of time. Larry Pratt is the Executive Director of Gun Owners of America. That's gunowners.org. Please go to that site, sign up for the updates, and support this organization, which has been absolutely front and center in protecting our God-given, constitutionally guaranteed rights. Thanks, Larry.
Hey, thank you very much, Dan. Good to be with you all.
Always. We'll be back shortly with more on Talk to Solomon. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item, and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule. I like to eat. Do you like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. You know, they say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com. Check it out. Let me ask you a question. Do you like being sick? I have in my hand an incredible product. It's called TR10 Supercolloidal Silver. TR10 stands for a trace to the negative 10th power. The particles in this silver product are 6 to 8 angstroms, 6 to 8 10 billionths of a meter. Now listen to me. Silver has been the magic bullet for all of human existence. The Egyptians used silver instruments. We use silverware. They put silver in your teeth because nothing can grow on silver. Silver will kill anything but liberalism. I'm working on that. This product, you go to cpnlive.com, buy 1 quart of this product. It will last you for a very long time. Anytime you feel like you've been exposed to something bad, take some of this product, spray it in your mouth, or take a little bit and gargle it, swallow it. It will kill any pathogen. The average antibiotic kills 10 to 20 different pathogens. This product will kill 700 plus. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your doctor a favor. He's tired of seeing you. Get Supercolloidal Silver. Go to cpnlive.com, order the product. It's $29.95 plus shipping. I think it's $39.95 delivered any place in America right to your door. It's worth 10 times that. Check it out. If you're not 100% happy, just return it and we'll give you your money back. Do you like being healthy? I do. In fact, this product, which I've been taking for years now, is absolutely the answer. Now, you may not believe it, but I'm actually 21, plus tax, of course. This product has 146 different healthful nutrients in it, and it's liquid, so it's bioavailable. It tastes great, and it's sugar-free. 1 ounce of Sonic Life each day will help you to maintain and enhance your health. It's a kind of a gift, well, that you'll thank your mom for, your husband for, your wife for, your kids for. Whoever you give it to, they're going to say thank you, and you are going to enjoy the benefits of having all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the nutrients your body needs in one very reasonably priced product. Just go to cpnlive.com and everything's right there. You'll be able to read all the ingredients. The price is right there, a flat price delivered to your door anywhere in the United States of America. Sonic Life is a gift, a great gift. Give it to yourself. I do.